Hi and welcome to another video today from Team Group. You should know Team Group, especially when you've been following my project Fox D&D desk videos, because in those videos we were using the T-Force Excalibur Rgb memory sticks, the ones you can see right on here. Team Group has a ton of new products and especially Rgb products. One of them is, it's really special, and we will just take a tour and show you around. I promise to you, we will be very gentle when it comes to the Rgb. I don't want to get the Rgb heart attack. That's why we started with an Rgb thumb drive. You heard it right, it's an Rgb thumb drive, and it's plugged into this PS4. Apparently it's a problem that a lot of USB drives are too thick to be plugged into a PS4, so this one is a little bit thinner, so you can plug it into this. And the Rgb actually has a real function, so depending on your capacity that is used on the USB drive, the color will change. So for example, if it's below 80% usage, it will be blue, but if it's above 90%, for example, it will start to flash red, so you know that your USB thumb drive is full. Going over to the right side, to products that are a little bit more related to us. On top here we have a T-Force Rgb Controller, which has actually a button we can use. The thing is, you know, a lot of Rgb controllers, you either get the ones that have a remote control that are completely not connected to your mainboard or anything like that, they're completely independent. And then you also have the Rgb controllers that can be hooked up to your mainboard to typically the 5-volt Rgb Strip, the Rgb connector. And this one can do both. So you have the button on here where you can either select a different Rgb mode, which you can see, or you can just hook up it directly to your mainboard. What I also found really interesting is this Rgb strip. That's something I haven't seen before. Typically I just know those Rgb strips where you can see all those individual LEDs, but this one has some kind of diffusion layer on top of it. It also feels very soft. Not really sure what kind of material this is. I haven't seen this type of Rgb strip before. Looks quite interesting. So that's something Rgb-wise that I really like. Going over to something that's probably a lot more interesting to you is this Gen 4 NVMe drive. So it's a Gen 4 M.2 NVMe drive. It's called Cardea Zero. It's a C440 SSD, and you might think this is a sticker on here, the one you typically know from M.2 drives. They usually have those white stickers on there with like serial number, product name and all of this. And this one is actually a graphite pad. So if you touch it, you can feel, it feels cold. It's obviously not cold, but you can, if you touch something and it has a high thermal transfer rate, then you know it feels cold. And this is a graphite pad to spread the heat of the SSD across the whole surface of the NVMe drive. The next product is the Delta Max Rgb SSD. And when you just look at this, it looks like a black Rgb SSD, or it looks like a black SSD. Once you switch it on, once you plug it into your system, it looks like that. And I was like, is this an LCD? Is this an LCD SSD? Do we really have LCDs now on SSDs? Unfortunately, we don't. It's just a very special way Team Group is using ARGB LEDs to illuminate this SSD. It makes it look extremely nice, I have to give them that. And yeah, it's not an LCD, but it's an RGB SSD. It's the same type of ARGB LEDs they're using on those T-Force Rgb memory sticks. The ones you can also see in the system right on the left side here. They're just used because they're more efficient, so they're not as hot, and the light is spread more evenly, so it gives it a nicer look. The last product from Team Group, and also kind of my highlight from the Team Group booth, is this M.2 SSD, which you can see is liquid cooled. But it's not really liquid cooled, it's just that it has a liquid cooler on there, which you can fill with your own liquid. So it's more like a visual thing. So there's a screw on here. If you slide this cover to the back, you can remove this screw and fill this SSD with your own liquid to match it your liquid cooling build. For example, if you take a look at this one, it's like a Fanta build, so it's a little bit of orange, which is probably hard to find as a color if you want to match your SSD to it. So you can just remove the screw, remove the liquid that's maybe already inside, replace it with your own liquid to match it to your system. Obviously, water has quite high heat capacity, so if you're pumping your SSD once a while, like high read or write loads, then it can take up quite some heat, but once it's hot, obviously it cannot remove or dissipate the heat as quick. So it's not that you can attach this to your water cooling loop. Unfortunately, I asked Team Group if that's possible, if they can maybe add some connectors in the future to make this able to fit it to your water cooling loop. Unfortunately, it's not as easy. The problem is you would need very tiny fittings to attach them to the back. The compatibility is really a problem. So most of the time the M.2 SSD is sitting somewhere inside your system underneath the GPU, and yeah, then you just simply have no space to put your water cooling connection. So yeah, unfortunately we cannot really liquid cool those SSDs, we cannot really put it into the loop, but I think it's a very nice way of matching your SSD to your water cooling build if it's visual. So that's it from Team Group from Computex 2019. By the way, Team Group is also giving away some of those SSDs in a giveaway. You can find the link in the description of this video down below. Make sure you check that out. See you next time.